Alright, so hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I saw this suggestion in the comments and I thought it was a really good idea, and it's actually something that's been requested multiple times. And it's basically a video where I recommend a primary weapon for each mastery rank all the way up to 14, at which point you can get all the weapons in the game. One thing before we start though, the mastery system is, well, just that. It's your mastery over different kinds of weapons, frames and companions in the game. So you can't just pick these specific weapons because they're not going to give you enough mastery points to progress through the different ranks. So as always, I would highly recommend you experiment with different types of weapons because you never know what you might like until you try it out. Also, the weapons I've picked aren't necessarily the strongest when it comes to the different mastery ranks, because the way I looked at this is these are the weapons that I either think are a good idea to pick up or the weapons I would not want to miss if I were to play this game again with the knowledge I already have. And with that out of the way, let's start sensibly at the start. So when you first get into the game, there are multiple different weapons you can actually choose from, but the main three choices in my opinion would be the MK1 Bratton, which is sort of the generic assault rifle from which you've been watching gameplay up until now. The MK1 Paris, which is the first bow you can get your hands on to see if maybe sneaking around and taking enemies out in silence would be more your thing. And pretty much the exact opposite of the MK1 Paris for when you want to just run around and brute force your way through the levels is the MK1 Strun, which is going to be your first shotgun. Now at this point of the game, the best advice I can give you is to just get your hands on every weapon you can, because you never know what you might like, so it's a good time to experiment because the weapons aren't too expensive, and you also need to level different weapons in order to progress through the different mastery ranks to get more weapons, more warframes and stuff like that. Now the first mastery rank, which is the Initiate, also has the Karak, which is sort of a step up from the Bratton, so if you very much enjoy the generic assault rifle feeling of the Bratton, you want to pick up the Karak, which you can find a blueprint for in the market. This is one of the most realistic feeling weapons in the game, and it's actually quite refreshing to go back to it every now and then, because the other weapons, yeah, they're a little bit wackier than this. At this point you can also buy the standard version of the Strun and the Bratton, which are just a better version of the MK1 variant. When you make your way to Mastery Rank 2, which is the Silver Initiate, there are two weapons I would highly recommend you pick up. The first one is the Boltor, which is a not so generic automatic assault rifle. The reason it's not so generic is because it's not a hit scan weapon, it fires bolts that have travel time and can pin enemies to walls. It also does a lot of damage even with basic mods, which is just marvelous, and it's a lot of fun. Pinning enemies to walls is just fun. And I think it's also worth mentioning that Mastery Rank 2 is when you can start using the board, though the blueprint for the board drops from Drakkar Troopers, and I don't even know if you get access to Drakkar Troopers at Mastery Rank 2. Because when I was climbing through the early mastery ranks, Drakkar Troopers wouldn't be added into the game for like 2 more years or something. But just in case you can get your hands on a board blueprint, I would recommend you build it because it's the first fully automatic shotgun and it's a lot of fun. Now I know some of you more experienced players might be saying, well, what about Vectis? And I don't think it's a good idea, because at this point of the game you need to farm a lot, and farming with a sniper rifle, yeah, not the best idea. Moving on to Mastery Rank 3, which is the Gold Initiate, and here I only have one weapon that I would definitely not want to miss, and that weapon is the Tetra. I always considered this to be kind of like the Corpus version of the Boltor that unfortunately does not pin enemies to walls. This one is mostly here because it's fun and it's one of my all-time favorites, but also because just like the Boltor, it's a decent weapon that will do a good amount of damage even with basic mods. Moving on to Novice, which is Mastery Rank 4, and it's where things start to get a little bit more interesting. Because here you can get your hands on the Heck, which, once properly modded, is one of the strongest shotguns in the game. This weapon can very easily take you through the entire Star Chart, Nightmare missions, Fissure missions, and even Sortie missions if you just keep updating your build and ranking up your mods. It's also a very satisfying weapon to use, so the Heck, most definitely a weapon that you should not miss. And just as a quick side note, this is also the rank where you can start using the Prisma version of the Tetra if you buy it from Barraketeer, which is just a straight up upgrade over the standard Tetra, though I don't think this is necessarily the best purchase at Mastery Rank 4 because you have better things to do and buy. Mastery Rank 5, which is the Silver Novice, actually has quite a few choices, so we're gonna start off with the Grakata. Now, the best way I can think of to describe the Grakata would be a fully automatic assault rifle on crack. It actually has decent stats and can do good damage if you manage to stay on the target, because it also has insanely high fire rate and kicks like a mule on steroids. But I would still recommend you pick it up because it is a strong rifle and it's most likely going to be your first proper crit rifle as well. My second recommendation would be the Comb, which is another fully automatic shotgun with a twist because it has a wind up, so when you first start firing the fire rate is very slow and it just keeps going up as you keep firing. This is a very strong shotgun, and just like the Heck can take you through the majority of the game if you just keep updating your build and ranking up your mods. And finally, if you manage to join a clan, which I would highly recommend you do by this point, you can also pick up a blueprint for the Ignis, which is the Grenier flamethrower. This, just like the Heck, is a weapon that you really shouldn't miss. Now granted, the single target damage is a bit lacking when compared to most other weapons, but it deals damage in a cone in front of you, so you can damage multiple enemies at the same time, which also means it's a great farming weapon because it's very easy to break resource and loot containers with it. Moving on, we have Mastery Rank 6, which is the Gold Novice, and here I would highly recommend you pick up the Soma. This is kind of like a more reasonable version of the Grakata. It doesn't have as much fire rate, but it also doesn't kick as much, and it has really good critical stats. This actually used to be the strongest crit rifle in the game back in the day, so just like with the Heck, if you update your build and you rank up your mods, this can take you through the entire game no problem. And my second recommendation for Mastery Rank 6 would be the Mitre, which, first of all, is incredibly fun. It's a soul blade launcher, but it's also fairly powerful, and even though the damage isn't as great as it is on other weapons, it's actually a great utility weapon later in the game, because it can be modded to instantly pop nullifier bubbles with a Syndicate mod. The one thing you have to bear in mind with this one is that the blueprint and the parts are a boss drop, so you will have to farm it from Lek, Krill and Captain Vor in the mission Exta on Ceres. Moving on to the Disciple, which is Mastery Rank 7, and here I actually have 3 recommendations. So the first one is Beza, which is a silent crit-based SMG. This one is pretty strong to begin with. I mean, a standard crit build will go a long way, but once you get your hands on some of the niftier mods like Hunter Munitions and Duostat mods, this weapon is just straight up disgusting. Though there is one downside to this one because the range on it isn't that great. My second recommendation is another fully automatic shotgun, and it is the Sobek, and this one is somewhat similar to the Beza in that it does have a downside. It has pretty horrific reload time, and on top of that, while a basic build is gonna go a long way, it just gets better and better as you get your hands on more mods. And my final recommendation for Mastery Rank 7 is the Soma Prime, which is just a better version of the Soma that I've already recommended for Mastery Rank 6. The problem here is that this is a prime weapon and it might be vaulted, but if it's not, you should definitely get it. Next on the menu, we have the Silver Disciple, which is Mastery Rank 8, and here I have 2 recommendations, however neither of them come from the market. So for the first one, which is the Lens, you will have to be in a clan, because the blueprint for this one comes from the Energy Lab from the dojo. However, this is very much worth it because this is, in my opinion, the best explosive weapon in the game. It's actually the only explosive weapon that I can stomach on anything other than my Inaros. It's just really well designed and it's a lot of fun to use. And let us also not forget that it is incredibly powerful if you have the right build on it. And my second recommendation would be the Bratton Prime, which is just a better version of the standard Bratton. However, since this is a primed weapon, it can be vaulted, though I don't remember the last time it actually was vaulted. This is very much a personal preference kind of thing though, because while the damage is definitely not bad, it's not the best weapon in the world, especially at this kind of mastery rank, and I just like using it. It's a lot of fun to use. Moving on to Mastery Rank 9, which is the Go Disciple, and here I would definitely recommend you pick up the new Nagantaka crossbow. Now, while this is technically Garuda's signature weapon, you can just get the blueprint from the market. It's very cheap and it's a fantastic crossbow. I did a quick look video for this one fairly recently and I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed it. And my second recommendation, though this is a bit of a stretch, is the Ignis Wraith. Now the reason why I consider this one to be a bit of a stretch is because not only do you have to be in a clan, you have to be in a clan that has the research for Ignis Wraith, and not all of them do. Because the research for Ignis Wraith was a reward for some clans that participated in the Pacifism Defect event, so if by any chance you find yourself in one of those clans, you should definitely pick it up. Moving on to the Seeker, which is Mastery Rank 10, and here I have 3 recommendations. The first one is a market weapon and it's a pump-action shotgun by the name of Corinth. This is the first proper pump-action shotgun that was introduced into the game. It's pretty damn strong and it's a lot of fun to use. It uses the same reload mechanic as the different variants of the Strand shotgun, so you load in 1 round at a time, and it has 2 different fire modes, a shotgun mode and sort of an underbarrel type grenade mode. It's just awesome, and I think it would be a shame if you were to miss out on it. My second recommendation is the Arca Plasmor, which is essentially just a Corpus/Plasma version of the Corinth. This one is, for me at least, even more fun than the Corinth, and it's just ridiculous. It fires this massive plasma ball that will fly through multiple enemies and absolutely destroy them. It is, however, just like my final recommendation for this mastery rank, a clan weapon, so you do have to be in a clan to get the blueprint from the Energy Lab. And my final recommendation for mastery rank 10 is still my most used primary weapon in this game, and that is the Amprex. It's a chain lightning gun. Do I need to say more? And we are slowly nearing the end with Mastery Rank 11, which is the Silver Seeker, and this one is once again a little bit bland in my opinion when it comes to primary, so I only have 2 recommendations. The first one is a prime weapon, so it can once again be vaulted, but if it's not, definitely pick it up, and it is the Boar Prime. This is a much stronger version of the standard Boar shotgun that you get access to at Mastery Rank 2, and on top of doing significantly more damage, can also reach 100% status before multi-shot, which means that every pellet you fire is going to cause a status effect. This is incredibly powerful with the amount of pellets you fire, especially with multi-shot, because you can either mod it with radiation and viral, which is going to confuse the enemies and cut their health in half with a little bit of bleed coming from slash procs, or you can mod it with corrosive and blast, which will strip the enemy's armor and knock them down. And my second recommendation for this mastery rank comes in the form of a Baraka tier weapon, and it is the Prisma Grakata, which is just a straight up upgrade to the normal Grakata. Now, Mastery Rank 12, which is the Gold Seeker, is where you get access to the different Syndicate weapons. And out of all the weapons, whether it be Syndicate or non-Syndicate, that you get access to with this rank, I only consider 2 of them to be sort of must-have. And the first one is the Vacor Heck, which is the crit version of the Heck shotgun. This one is just ridiculous, especially if you get your hands on Primed Ravage and Prime Point Blank. And it will just straight up one-shot the vast majority of enemies the game can throw at you. It also comes with a built-in Syndicate effect, which adds a nice bit of AoE, and it is just as satisfying as the standard Heck shotgun, so for me, this one is definitely a must-have. And my second recommendation is the Sancti Tigris, which is just a straight-up upgrade over the normal Tigris, which you get at Mastery Rank 7. This one also comes with a built-in Syndicate effect, and it has an insane amount of burst damage potential, especially if you unload both barrels into one enemy at the same time. The second to last rank where you actually unlock some weapons is Mastery Rank 13, which is the Hunter. Now this one only unlocks 2 weapons for you, and they're both prime weapons, so they could be vaulted, but if they're not, I think both of them are worth picking up. The first one is the primed version of the Boltor, which is a significant upgrade over the standard Boltor. It's just as much fun as the standard Boltor, and it can be built for either a hybrid build or a status build, both of which will absolutely tear through the entire game. And the second weapon you unlock with Mastery Rank 13 is the primed version of the Tigris, which is one of the most damaging weapons in the game. It does an extraordinary amount of damage up front and will kill most enemies with a dual shot, and it can also reach 100% status with 4 dual stat mods. So even if something dares to survive the initial barrage of bullets, they will die from the slash procs the weapon will leave behind. And finally, we have Silver Hunter, which is Mastery Rank 14 and currently the final Mastery rank that actually unlocks primary weapons. And even though it is pointless for me to say anything here because you can literally get every weapon in the game at this point, I would still really not want to miss the Tiberon Prime, which is a fantastic primary weapon that can switch between semi-automatic, burst fire and fully automatic, and it's decently powerful as well. And number 2, one of my personal favorites and basically the closest thing we have to a minigun, the Supra Vandal, which is a Baraka tier weapon. And this is, in my eyes at least, the best combination of just raw power and immense amount of fun that we have in the game right now. If you ever see this weapon on Baraka tier, buy it. Don't ask any questions, just buy it. And that is pretty much it. Blimey, this was a long one, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video and it was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.